By internet law, I am required at some point to talk about Forspoken and Hi-Fi Rush. If I don't dunk on the lackluster AAA title and praise the predestined game of the year, I will be kicked off of YouTube forever. Jokes aside, even though I'm not interested in echoing what everyone else has been saying, I'm glad that I'm making this mini podcast so I can talk about something I've been saying in conversation to friends for a while now. Advertisement poisons video games. You see, when you make a promise to someone and deliver on that promise, they will be happy. Well, if you make a promise to someone and fail to deliver, they will be unhappy. Little kids know this sort of stuff. Video games are experiences rather than objects. And in order to advertise an experience, you have to string together a series of promises rather than one or two. If you sell a hammer just has to hammer good. An action RPG has to look good, run at 60 FPS, have compelling story beats and characters, solid action, etc. So, you then have a choice on your hands. You can take the traditional path of a steady drip feed of content teasing like Square Enix did with Forspoken, and most major publishers do with most of their games. Or you can do what Bethesda did with Hi-Fi Rush, and just sell your product out into the world and just let people talk about it naturally. Free range. Now, I should disclose at this time that unlike with the Soulsborne titles, I have not directly experienced Forspoken and Hi-Fi Rush. I have only sampled a lot of publicly available footage and reporting on YouTube and Twitch, particularly for Forspoken. And I'm not going to try to push or hate on either of these titles. I was previously interested in Forspoken based on the earlier trailers, but the fact that the PC version of Forspoken has de novo anti-cheat, which is software that makes paying customers have an objectively worse system performance while playing, it kind of killed my interest, especially in combination with the $70 price tag. Hi-Fi Rush has a much more reasonable $30 asking price, and should deserve my purchase. But I haven't gotten a chance to play Psychonauts 2, even though I helped crowdfund that. And my backlog of games to play and shows and movies to watch is overflowing. Nonetheless, based on the collective statements on the internet, it's pretty clear that a lot of people were interested in Forspoken when it was initially announced, and the collective mood turned against it as more and more people experienced it. And a number of people have expressed disappointment based on unfulfilled expectations. Forspoken should get credit for offering a demo. A lot of games don't, and it's a needed pro-consumer move. But that demo didn't help the reception that this game received. Hi-Fi Rush, meanwhile, released in a stable state with an art style and character types that are currently in high demand, a relatively uncommon set of gameplay mechanics, and is less than half the price than the AAA game that released around the same time. And no one knew it was going to be a thing. No one was hyped in advance. No one was asked to pre-order. No expectations were set. If I had the spare income, I would buy it on principle. If Forspoken was shadow dropped, I don't think it would have been panned by the masses quite so badly. I think people would have still been displeased with the price tag, and have the same sort of things to say about the antagonizing dialogue, lack of middle to late game content variety, and world building issues people have articulated. But there would have at least been an incentive to give the game more credit where it was due, rather than be mad about something not living up to what was promised before. Word of mouth is doing for Hi-Fi Rush what Square Enix's marketing department could not do to help out Forspoken. Another good example of both sides of this equation is Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk marinated in years of hype and expectation setting, released as a buggy mess, and elicited mass rage on the intensity and scale of Fallout 76 and Anthem. Then sometime later, Netflix shadow dropped a Studio Trigger anime with the same story setting that many people fell in love with, at the same time that the game had been patched into a more usable state, and the collective mood turned sweeter for a lot of people, even though others held on to their disappointment. Advertisement poisons video games. We've been through the same song and dance too many times for people over 18 on average to readily believe that AAA games release in usable states and are worth the $70 were asked for upfront, and the season passes we're expected to pay for later. Let's keep an eye out for the sale numbers for Forspoken and Hi-Fi Rush a year from now, and see who made more.